So I have 3.5 acres. It's hard for me to believe that I can't contain my sewage on my property to Mr. Parrish's point. If I had a septic system, a leach field that was good for 40 years, I mean, putting in another leach field or putting in some other alternative other than a small flow treatment facility, I am all for that. I had an excavator there when the soil scientist showed up, and she already showed up with the intent of failing me from the SEO because they had a discussion ahead of time. We didn't dig one hole. We didn't dig one hole, although we had an excavator there ready to dig and test for perking. All right, so I'm not here to sue anybody, right? And if we want to go into, and I looked at the agreement that you asked me to sign. Should I go into that now, or?
Sure.
I looked at the agreement that you asked me to sign, and I talked to your associate, Michael.
Would you mind standing up to the podium? I'm having trouble hearing you.
Okay. So, I discussed with your associate, Michael Pruney, and also, and I went over this proposal for this agreement that you want me to sign, an installation and maintenance agreement. Now, this agreement is put together just for my property. This is the first property, so this is the first time you're asking somebody to sign this for a small flow treatment facility, right? So that's where we're at. And then Sean sent me an email today, and he said, please consider what the township has to deal with. And here's the items on that the township has to deal with. He said they need a maintenance agreement between a property owner and a firm or corporation that's experienced in the operation and maintenance of a sewage system. So as part of a small flow treatment facility, I will be required to hire somebody who's familiar with small flow treatment facilities to maintain, repair, and inspect my facility. I'm fine with that. Right? A maintenance agreement between a property owner and municipality or its designated local agency. Right? I'm fine with that too. A bonding or escrow security deposit must be established that's 10% of the equipment cost and installation. I'm fine with that too. Right? As far as the comment about protecting the municipality, the property owner, I'm willing to hold harmless the municipality as a property owner for any claims, suits, or expenses, judgments, and so forth brought against the municipality. But the problem is the rest of the language. There's so much liability that's open-ended for me, right? So there's a comment, the property owner shall have the duty to defend the municipality, its officers and employees against any claim or suit made by any person who alleges that the adverse conditions have been so caused by the system. Right? So I have to pay legal fees and defend the municipality against an alleged condition. Right? This shall include but not be limited to any claims raised by third parties as a result of the property owner's actions under this agreement, whether known, understood, and or contemplated at the time of execution. Right? I mean, how can I be responsible for such open-ended liability? I have cooperated the whole way on this. I've done everything you've asked me to do, and I want to sign this agreement. But I don't want to bankrupt myself. I don't want to be liable for something that people are going to allege could have happened. And all I'm asking is we take out the language that it gets me off the hook for something that I'm not responsible for. If I'm responsible, I'm fine with it.
I didn't want to cut you off, sir.
Yeah.
Or do you have more on that subject?
I don't know if there's more, if there's questions. I mean,
I wanted to jump over to Sean. Sean, as far as Mr. Brizzi speaking about this being the first small flow treatment facility in Union Township, can you speak a little bit to that, just to educate the board?
Yeah, so basically what it is, it's a sewage treatment treatment plant designed for one house. And, you know, there's guidance that the DEP gives to the township for these situations, particularly, you know, when these systems fail due to lack of adequate operations or maintenance, DEP holds both the property owner and the municipal government responsible to either repair or replace the improperly functioning system. The municipality should protect itself from potential future liabilities associated with improperly operated or maintained small flow treatment facilities by assuring that guarantees the long-term operation and maintenance are properly evaluated and in place before use of small flow treatment facilities is approved. And, you know, as Solicitor Sweat said, I looked at, when I was working on the private side and I permitted a small flow treatment facility, I went back to see, well, what kind of language did the client need to agree upon in that time? And then, as you alluded to, I mean, it's kind of standard language that's out there. So you know, really that's what this agreement is, and the whole point of it is to protect the township from potential liability.
Did the DEP, guide this project into the small treatment facility?
Yeah, so my understanding is you failed the dye test, and because of the slopes on your property, a traditional on-lot system doesn't work. Basically, the last ditch effort to solve the sewage problem is one of these small flow treatment facilities. And as part of the small flow treatment facility, it needs to discharge into a water of the Commonwealth because it's treated sewage. It's a lot
Sure.
like our package.
Not to interrupt you, but why is this the first one? I mean, so people have been coming to the township for years with similar problems, similar slopes.
Sure,
right?
I mean,
Why
I think
is
that's-
this the first time that this is being required?
My idea of the history is a bit different than the supervisors and the solicitors. I'd say that all goes back to the sewage council and them not choosing to enforce the required rules until recently.
Until now. Not recently, until now.
My opinion would be, you know, basically since I've been here and I've been working with Mike Behrens, he seems to do everything on the up and up.
So for the past 20 years, all the approvals of malfunctioning septic systems have been approved illegally.
We can't speak to the taxpayers, and Mr. Breezy, I'm glad you're here and asking these questions. We've been faced with a lot of sewage problems in the 5 years I've been sitting here. It's insurmountable. So but I can't go back 20 years. You'd have to ask some of the gentlemen here that were around at that point. But just to go back to what you're saying, Sean, this small flow treatment facility has been recommended by the Washington County Sewage Authority and the DEP, is that correct?
That's correct. So you know, the DEP wants to solve sewage issues, and this is the last way to solve an on-lot sewage issues, a small flow treatment facility. The Washington County Sewage Council went out there, looked at your property, and basically because of the slopes, no other option is possible.
That's what I was told.
Put a holding tank in.
Sean,
I'm gonna have to leave for another township meeting.
Okay.
Let me just say, you don't have to approve it, and then everything just stops. You have to have that indemnification language in the agreement. We know how costly litigation can be, even with baseless, frivolous lawsuits that have no
Yeah,
merit.
I do know
We've
that.
lived that for almost 2 years. This is not an unreasonable position the township is taking. I believe that's a non-negotiable provision. If it's designed correctly, if it's installed correctly, if there's no trespass onto Mr. Parrish's property, there should not be a problem. But if anything happens in this design, in this installation, in this maintenance, that arises out of this arrangement, yes, you have to indemnify the township. I can't guarantee that Mr. Parrish isn't gonna sue the township if he thinks you've done something wrong that affects his property. He's made that statement publicly. Ever the more reason for us to insist on this provision.
Gary, is it your recommendation that the board table these items?
You can approve that agreement as it's written. Now, it's up to Mr. Brizzi if he wants to sign it. And all the other items would be conditioned upon him signing that agreement. I would not change that agreement.
if he doesn't sign the agreement.
Then the others don't matter. it's conditioned upon him signing that agreement, so you can make a motion to approve the agreement that's been presented.
Sean, does the Washington County Sewage or DEP give you any qualification or the quality of the water that's being discharged?
I'm sorry, Rick, you said that again, is the DEP?
The DEP, Washington County Sewage, the system that he's putting in, do they give you any kind of a qualification of the water that's being discharged?
Yeah, there's, similar.
Safe enough to drink?
I wouldn't drink it. They call that.
I can see Mr. Parrish's
They-
concern.
That's called the yuck factor. I mean, sure, you can treat sewage into drinking water. That's very possible, but I mean, there's a yuck factor to it. So,
What's the cattle supposed to do, not drink the water? That's down to a stream down there, you're dumping that in a stream. Don't tell me that that's a safe thing to do.
I have a question, I have for Sean. Sean,
Excuse me, can you wait till the end of the meeting, please?
all
Thank you.
right.
Please, everybody.
So-
Let's keep,
Rick, similar with the Mingo treatment plant, basically, we want to put that treated effluent into the tributary to Mingo Creek. So
Yeah,
the-
but let me interrupt you. Before we even started that subject, I was told what comes out is 100% safe drinkable water. Same as they discharge into the river. And that's what, in my opinion, if the sewage council or DEP says to a landowner, put this system on the ground, or in the ground, if there is a discharge, it has to be 100% safe. But they don't say that in the specs of it.
what comes out isn't the same as drinking water, but it's treated effluent. It's safe water.
Maybe we need to get a clarification on it. It would help everybody. How do we do that? Is that?
If this is a DEP guideline, I mean, I find it a little strange that you're challenging the DEP here on the quality of the water coming out of the system.
What if water goes into the streams? Streams have fish.
The DEP is aware of that.
Well, I have a question. Mr. Parrish, you said that there's 2 houses on that property?
Yeah, he said 3.5 acres.
Are you gonna tie
Pump the
both
water up
houses
on
into
top
that
of it,
same
let it
system?
run in the property.
No, it has a septic system that passed the eye test. One passed and one didn't.
We just can't be liable. I can
I
sympathize with you,
I
but
don't wanna vote for something that's gonna cause somebody some problems in the future. Having somebody sewage run on somebody else's property, even if it's the water,
we're not voting on the type of system. They told them what type.
yeah.
This is being forced on me. All right, this system is being forced on me. I'm fine with another leach field.
I say I have to take Gary's recommendation in the, what do I wanna call that, release, or what is it called? That agreement has to be signed as is.
The installation and maintenance agreement.
The installation and maintenance agreement has to be signed as is. I mean, if you wanna come back,
Problem up on considering it, but it's, right.
so, going back to what Rick was saying, Rick, as far as Rick saying that you think that we just have to abide by what the attorneys are
what's
guiding.
in there, he's advising us.
So, Mr. Breezy, do you have any other comments? Because I don't want to,
No, it's fine.
no more questions or thoughts? Okay. Mr. Parrish, I know you were involved in these conversations as well. Would you have any other comments?
Yes, and you're talking about even when he says, well, the DEP, he says, oh, the water comes out there and how good it is and everything there. And then it says, oh, and I believe they had anything, oh, they would check it once a year. No, if they're gonna check it once a year, then who's gonna check who's checking what? And what are the specs for the water coming out there? What are the specs, what's required?
I don't think anyone said
You
it'll
know
be
what
checked.
somebody's dumping in there.
Sir, I don't think anyone said it'll be checked once a year. There'll be
Oh, yes, it
a
did.
qualified,
It said in the letter that it be tested once a year.
there'll be a qualified company that maintains it and tests it. And I don't know what their schedule is.
Once a year, it
Okay.
said, read it,
Yeah.
that's what it said.
So
And
that,
I said again, and I'll say again, there's a township storm sewer there under the road, and that's where they're gonna wanna dump that into that storm sewer. Don't tell me they don't, that's there. I've been there all my life, I know what's there. And like I said, you got 3.5 acres there, very simple, when you have now, pump on there, pump it up on the hill, up behind the house, and let it drain down through the 3.5 acres.
I'm fine with that.
Huh?
I'm fine with that.
Well, hey, you might wanna do
Okay, Sean,
that.
give me more comments on an engineering aspect?
Yeah, so the company that will be inspecting this needs to fill out annual paperwork and submit that to DEP for them to check to make sure that the system's still functioning properly into the future.
Okay, thank you. So board, any last comments before we move forward? Okay, I would like on item number 15, approve, deny execution of the 102 Airport Road Inspection Agreement, single residence sewage treatment plant. I'd like to table this.
Yes, please.
And
I'll,
Let-
se- I'll,
So the engineers and Whitlaw get a more defined answer for us. I would
no, our attorney is recommending this board to execute that installation and maintenance agreement as it stands. I don't know what we have to do to satisfy the owner. I wish we had some more information, but I will say, I'll do everything I can not to let any bad water get piped into our storm sewer. That's just going backwards. So if they designed this, surely it's gotta be clean water. We need to get some paperwork or technology here to educate us all. Get us something, Sean. Is it even our responsibility to do this? Do you know the actual system, or?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen drawings. It just, you know, when I say I want to drink that water, it goes back to DEP thresholds of what's safe, what's not safe. Chlorine's a carcinogen, and that's in tap water that we all drink. So, I mean, it's just, you know, I want to drink that water, but it needs to go through DEP's regulations. It's what DEP and the EPA has determined is safe treated effluent. And you know, it's not any raw sewage that's going through the pipes. It's all treated.
But Joe,
I'd like you to get some paperwork on that.
Cattle's gotta drink that water. So.
Well, I want to
one
drink
way
the
or
water
the
this
other-
cattle's
one way
already
or the other,
drinking.
he wants to- no, he's gotta be getting the properties that was in that water.
What do we have to do to satisfy you? I mean, are you willing to sign that the way it is?
If that's my choice, I'll sign it the way it is, yeah.
So I made a motion to table item 15. Any thoughts?
Is this gonna hold itself if he's willing to sign it?
I think you leave it to Gary.
Alright, I'll second the motion to table. Sean, I'd like you to get me some paperwork to read
Okay.
on that. And, you know, just a little note, we have Harshman involved, and I'm picking on you, in a dye test and a sewage system coming out of our general account. This is why these unknowns, this is why the bills go up. It just has to be.
Okay, is there, was there a second? Okay.
Rick seconded the motion.
Okay, Mr. Ruskin?
Yes.
Mr. Brining?
Yes.